So, it's happened. I am now a graduate, which means that for the first time in practically my entire life, my entire conscious life, I don't have any form of education left, which is somewhat daunting. But on the flip side, the possibilities are very exciting. Not just because I am out of university and out of the education system as a whole, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be learning stuff in the future. I hope that for as long as possible, I'll continue to learn new things because knowledge is one of the most powerful things on this planet. Even those who are at the top of one specific subject, if you think you know everything there is to know about one thing, you probably don't. There's always more things to know. That is a topic for another day. What this is a review of sorts of my time at university. I was there for 3 years, from age 18 to 21, and a lot has changed. This is going to be going through each year, talking about my growth, talking about how I changed, what university did to me, and how it impacted the rest of my life. And maybe there's something that you can learn from this as well. We'll see, I suppose. So, first year of university, I'm 18 years old. I am somewhat newly single, and I think everybody knows kind of the idea of what first year at university is. You've got very little pressure in terms of work because turns out nothing you do in first year really impacts your overall grade. So I think the best word for me going into university is probably degenerate, purely because I had this thought I was gonna kind of, start off my personality afresh because not only was I at university, but I was at university very far away from home. It's like a 4 hour car journey away from anyone that I know. There was not a single person at my university who I knew before I got there. So I could be whoever I wanted, and because it was the atmosphere, I was a big degenerate basically. Not only was it the fact that that is what typically happens to people who go to university in first year, but I went to university in what we all remember fondly as the best year ever, 2020, which meant that not only was I going into university as an 18-year-old, ready to party, ready to do whatever, just have a fun time, but I barely experienced that before because a couple of months prior is when the lockdown hit. So between March and September, bear in mind my birthday, as in me turning 18, was in February, that whole period of time I hadn't grown up in that culture. Because for most people, or a lot of people, there's a period of time between you turning 18 and then going to university, in which time you can live out that life of being able to go drinking, go clubbing, do whatever you want really because you're an 18-year-old and you don't give a fuck. I didn't have that, so all of that energy that I had pent up throughout lockdown got released as soon as I went to university, and that's why I was such a degenerate. I was drinking multiple days a week. Even if we weren't going out, we'd still have a couple drinks just in the flat I was living in with some housemates. I was playing video games so often. I think the main three things I was doing were sleeping, drinking, and gaming. That was my life in first year of university. I was socializing with people when I drank. I was resting very often in a very uncomfortable bed because it just was. And then the rest of the time I was awake, I was probably playing video games. I had my Nintendo Switch and my PS4 up with me at university. And having both of those in my room to play whenever I wanted was not a good combination because it meant all of my time was spent on one of those two systems. And not only was I drinking like shit, I was eating like shit too. I'd gone from not really cooking at all to being put in this place where I'm away from everyone I know and I have to make food myself. So what did I do? Bought pizzas a lot of the time, made some absolutely disgusting, like foul food, but that's because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't care to try and educate myself. I was like, hey, it's my first year of university. I'm just gonna eat what it takes to survive, which wasn't good. I was drinking all the time. We were going out all the time. I was chatting to a lot of girls. I had this newfound confidence. Turning 18, I kind of had this realization that, you know what? Maybe I can talk to girls. Maybe I have that ability. And I did, and it happened. And it made me feel good, which then proceeded to make it happen more often. But I didn't have any quality relationships from that. Never. Not a single one. I was just doing it for my own ego, just to be like, guys, I have mad game now. I had no sense of reputation. I didn't care. I was tapping into my feminine side more than I ever have, but that just made me look like a fucking idiot most of the time. Also because of COVID, it meant that I wasn't really socializing apart from when I went out. Because during the weekdays, the only people who I'd ever really interact with were people on my course, which was on Zoom, so fucking nothing, and then the people who lived in my flat. I didn't have any proper positive I didn't look up to anyone in first year. I didn't have anyone who I kind of aspired to be more like, because everyone was kind of at the same level or lower. Anyway, so that was my life for at least a couple months until November hit. And one thing in November that gave me a slight reality check was, as I've spoken about before, the death of Unus Annus. 2020 had been the year that I was literally watching those videos every day. And when it all ended, I remember tuning in for the live stream at 5 a.m. or whatever time it was. And that gave me a little bit of a reality check, just to think, what am I doing with my life? That was the first kind of hint as to myself realizing that this isn't maybe what I want to be doing. The second half of first year was very different. I had gone home for an extended amount of time, again due to COVID, but in that time I had got myself a girlfriend and we were in a very happy relationship, and I am very grateful for that. Went back up to university and I did continue partying basically as hard as I had beforehand, but at least I had this accountability now of having this girl at home, or, well, a couple hundred miles away, but still I had this accountability that I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of her. The other positive thing that did come out of the second half of the first year was I got my first gym membership. I had never had my own gym membership before, or at least not mine that I bought myself. I think my mum bought me one, and when I was in year 10, and I probably went about 3 times, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. But now I had my own one, and I could go whenever I wanted. So I would get on the bus and go to the Pure Gym that was in town. And in there, I walked in and I did not know what the fuck I was doing. For a good few months, from what I recall, I had no sense of what anything in the gym would do. I didn't ask anyone, I didn't go with anyone that I knew, so I would hop on the, you know, the rowing machine, the like sit down, like see how long you could row for. I just did that because it tired me out. I didn't like running, I still don't like running, and I'd never touched weights before. I didn't even know what free weights were. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. But at least I was going. That was something better, at least. And that was first year. From there it goes up, thank God. Second year rolls around. I have now moved into a house with 3 people this time. They were, however, the 3 who went out the most out of anybody in the flat last year. So although I was closer with these guys, they did encourage me to go out more. So I was still going out fairly often. I was still going to the gym, but still didn't really know what I was doing. This year I managed to get a little bit more social because COVID restrictions were starting to ease up. I was actually able to, you know, communicate with people not on a screen the whole time, but I was still drinking a lot. until I discovered self-improvement. This was a game changer at the time. This was what really flipped the script for me, and it's one of the most important times in my entire life. I knew what I was doing at the gym now. I had a plan. I had an actual plan when I went to the gym. I didn't just show up and jump on whatever was available and maybe wait in the corner for a bit, just on my phone for a while. I knew what I was doing. I had a plan, and it fucking worked. I started seeing results in the gym for the first time in my life. I started cutting back on social media because I realized how much I just fucking hated it. I started journaling all the time. I started meditating. This period of my life, the end of second year of university, this is the point where things get good. At this point, my happiness is being boosted far higher than it has been in the last year and a half. Unfortunately, I'd only discovered self-improvement at the end of second year, so it wasn't really until third year that I was fully able to implement it as part of my life. I'd moved to another new house, and it was time for a new me. Not like the new me who had gone into first year of university. In fact, probably the complete opposite. I was more conscious about food. I actually planned meals. I was conscious that what I put in my body was going to affect my body. There's that old saying that you are what you eat, which I think a lot of people have forgotten about, because I don't think I've actually heard that anywhere in about 8 years, I want to say. People have really forgotten about that. So I just tried to cook a little bit better. I wasn't great. I can fully say that. I was not a good cook, but at least I wasn't just chucking stuff in the oven the entire time. Like pizzas or just shitty little dishes, like microwave meals. I never did that because I had a new respect for myself. So I would actually put in the effort in the kitchen to make some good food. And in terms of alcohol, my consumption levels went from up here at first year, probably down here at second year, to down here. My new ethos was that I would only ever drink on special occasions, so someone's birthday or something similar to that level, because I fully grasped how much alcohol was just fucking me up. It was poisoning my body, and I hated it. I never liked how I felt the next day, and even at the time it wasn't great because you just feel fucking wavy and you don't know what the fuck's going on. And it's a waste of money. Why would you want to spend money on something that's just actively pushing you back? You're regressing every time you drink. There's nothing about it that I like. The only time I will drink now is for special occasions, and if I actually think, I have to think whether or not it's going to be worth it or not. And a lot of the times, it's not. Also in third year, I finally get some people to go gym with me. So not only am I hitting gym like crazy, but I've actually got gym bros with me who are helping me push even further. And it is so fucking good. And just going back to video games for a second, the PS4 did not return to university with me in second year because I had the smallest room imaginable. There was no way I could have fit a TV screen and the PlayStation in there at the same time. So that, unfortunately, for me at the time, had to stay at home, whereas the Switch, of course, it's a handheld. I brought it up with me, and I was still playing it up until the end of second year. Until there was a breaking point for me. I can't say exactly what it is that set me off, but with the self-improvement content I'd been consuming, I was starting to understand how negative these video games were to me. This could be a story for another day, but I remember specifically one day it just clicked for me that I didn't want to do it anymore. And I just made a recent purchase, but I didn't want to. And I turned it off and cut to third year. I haven't touched any video game in 6 months. And that's coming from someone who was playing for multiple hours a day before. Obviously, it's third year of university, so I'm working hard. I'm putting the hours in, but I'm still enjoying life. I'm making every day as good as it can be. And I'm so grateful for that. So it comes to an end. I'm hanging out with people that truly matter to me, and I'm trying to bring them up to me as well. I'm trying to show them how much better life can be when you just realise how much shit there is in the world and how much of it we don't need. And that brings us to now. Third year is over. I've graduated with a respectable 2-1. And I feel great. If it wasn't for that period at the end of my second year of university where I started this journey of self-improvement, I would not be anything like how I am now. If you could gain anything from this video, I just hope it's spend your time wisely. Don't partake in the degenerate activities that I did in first year, because you could argue that everybody needs to go through it at some point in life. And to some extent, I agree. I do think that's true. But experience it for a short amount of time and then move on. Because it's so much better looking at that period of my life from how I am now than if I had continued in those actions. If I had possibly even gone worse and looking back. Because I can look back at my old self. I can smile. And I hope you can do that too. Delay gratification. Try dopamine detoxing. And I hope you live a good life.